Hello, hello! Whether you help clients or you create projects for yourself, I think project management is one of the hardest things for creatives. And today I want to talk to you about 7 mistakes you can avoid when it comes to project management. Hi, my name is Natalie and I help creative entrepreneurs create money-making content that leads to fabulous products and services. I have been in business for more than 11 years and I had a business before that, so I know a lot about project management and mostly about the mistakes you can make. And I want you to have all the tools to avoid these mistakes. So I am telling you 7 today of mistakes that I hope you can avoid when it comes to project management. And at the end, I also want to give you a tip on how to avoid these. So keep watching. Mistake number 1 is not actually knowing the processes around your business. So we're talking onboarding, doing the actual project, offboarding, all of that. It took a long time for me to figure out my processes because I kept changing things or realizing that I tried to keep it all in my head. And my head is great at creative processes, not so great at remembering the order of things or what's going on where we are with each of these different processes, project processes. So I would lose track of what needed to happen where, and I also just didn't know the order of things in general. Knowing your processes and having that written out, and I'll repeat that because that's really important, having your processes written out somewhere, or actually the mistake is not having them written out, that's a really important one. The second one has to do with this as well. Because if you don't have a clear process and you don't have a clear way of seeing where you are, then how do you know what's going on for each of those projects? And you will lose track of those projects, which ones you're doing, how far along they are, what you're doing next. The big mistake you can make is losing track of projects altogether. And I am ashamed to admit, but I will admit it to you, I did have that at some point. It was a few years ago where I completely forgot about a project that had been laying there for a while, and I had been waiting for a client, but the client forgot that they were waiting, that they had to do something, so they thought they were waiting on me. So we were both waiting, there was no communication, and that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Mistake number 2 is not having a way to keep track of the project you're doing and where they are in the process. What needs to happen next? Who's waiting on who? The third mistake is not knowing the outcome. Because if you don't know what you want to end up with, how can you make it? How can you create it? How can you deliver it? If you don't have a set rules of this is what we're going for, both for yourself and for a client, scope creep is coming in, and it's coming in fast. It might not even be the client who's trying to scope creep on you. It might just be you thinking, oh, this would be cool too, and we could do this and we could do that, because that's how our brain works. We have all these amazing creative ideas and we kind of lose track of what was supposed to be in the projects. Do you feel like keeping track is one of the main lines of what we're talking about here? If you don't have a set outcome, whether that is an X amount of photos or a website with this amount of pages or a logo or a set of specific earrings for that client or whatever it is, if you don't have a set outcome, it will never be finished. That might sound horrible, but it's true, because if you don't have a set outcome, you can also say the project's finished now to your client or to yourself, and there will always be more to do. So I'm wondering, out of these first 3 mistakes, which one or all of them has happened to you? lack of processes, lack of keeping track of your projects, or a lack of outcome results and knowing what you're delivering? Let me know in the comments below. So the fourth mistake is not communicating clearly, and this one involves a story. We're talking 7-8 years ago, and I was social media manager and a web designer, and we had a big project from a business who wanted an event covered. So there was multiple people involved, not just me, and I was also the project manager for that project. I would be doing social media, there was someone who did the PR, there was someone who did the event, all of that. And a few weeks before the event, the client came up to me and was like, I also want video coverage. I want the speaker, I want that to be filmed completely so we can send it out to clients, and we want like cute little summary of what happened. We also knew that this client didn't have a huge budget, and we were okay with that. We had all figured out, but the video thing, that was extra, and I was like completely flustered with how am I going to do this, because there isn't much room in the budget anymore. And instead of telling him that, we decided to not hire another person or not get another person involved, someone who was, knew a lot about video, but I would do it. Could you see where that was going wrong? Like, I know a little bit about a video now, I knew even less then. So I had my camera, which was not a great camera. I filmed the event, the audio was horrible. I also did some little bits of video during the event of other places so that we could do a summary. It was okay. That's the best I can tell of it. It was okay, but it was not what the client was expecting. And so he got mad at me at the end. And at first I was really shamed, but also mad, because like, how could he expect that of me when there was nothing in the budget I could do? And it took me a few days to realize I should have communicated that there was no room in the budget for it. And I should have told him that. And he would either have said, okay, then there's no video, or okay, here's a bag of money, go hire someone for it. But because I didn't communicate, he wasn't really happy. I didn't feel really happy making it. I didn't feel happy about the results. No one felt really happy in the end. And it all came down to communication. So mistake number 4, communicate, communicate, communicate. Because I think this is actually the most important part of project management. Communicate with your client. And you can even find the 5th mistake in this story as well. Trying to do it all yourself. Because you are great at what you're great at, and you should be focusing on that. So as a social media manager and web developer and now business and marketing strategist, videography is not my thing. I am learning to do it for myself, but I wouldn't offer it to other people, and I shouldn't have been offering it then. I should have said, hey, there's this videographer I know who could do this, and it will be this much. So not getting him involved was definitely a mistake that I should avoid, and you should avoid as well. It could be that you need to hire someone who does graphics for you when you're a web developer, or if you are a wedding photographer and the clients are starting to ask you questions or wanting things from you that are outside of your scope of knowledge and expertise, you can ask them to, if you can hire someone else, or you can just say, oh, this person would be great for that. So the last 2 mistakes are actually connected. The number 6 mistake to avoid is having so many places where you have part of your project management that you lose track, there it is again, of everything that's going on. There was a time where I had a tool for contracts and proposals, that's the word I was looking for. I had another tool for invoicing. I had 3 tools for communication and like the task part of it. And I just, like, I didn't know where things were, and my clients didn't know where things were either. I lost track because there were too many places. So mistake 6 is don't lose track by having too many places to put stuff and to manage your project. But number 7 is don't try to find one tool to do it all, because you won't be able to. You won't be able to find one tool that does everything that you need and want. And that's okay. Just try to keep it as simple as you can and to keep it to the least amount you can. So for me these days I use Dubsado for anything that's proposals, contracts, invoicing, a lot of my emails, all of that is coming from Dubsado. It does anything communication, contracts, well, you know, that kind of thing. And then I have a Notion page with my client, and that is where anything documentation comes into. So anything that's text or images will either go indirectly or a Google Drive link. Even comments and stuff, we try to keep that all in Notion. Those two make up, I'd say, 90% of my project management these days. So number 7 is trying to find one tool that will do it all, because you will probably get really frustrated trying to find one tool that does it all, and it might not even work for you and your clients. So as promised, I want to give you one tip on how to avoid these mistakes, because I've made all of them. You've probably made a few of them. Let me know in the comments below how many you've made. But I want you to avoid any mistake you haven't made, and I want to also avoid you making them in the future. And my one tip for this is to figure out your processes and finding the right tools for that. Because once you've gotten those two figured out, it's a lot easier to avoid the other mistakes as well. If you have your process figured out, there will be moments for communication in there. If you've got your processes figured out, you also know where the scope of your project lies, and you can say, this is outside of the scope, this is outside of the budget, I need to hire someone for that. And having the tools to make that easy for you, so you know your processes and you can also see where people are in that process, will help you with doing just that. So my tip for you to avoid these 7 mistakes is to have your processes in order and to have tools for that. Do you want to know more about how you can improve your creative business your way? Check out my training called Be Your Own Business Detective. You get to sniff out any problems in your business, whether it's one of the mistakes we just talked about or anything else that you might want to change or add to your business. This is a training that in total takes about 60 minutes, and it helps you work through any changes that you want to make, anything that you want to remove from your business, anything that needs improving, all of it. It's a great training if you want to create your creative business your way, and I will link it in the description below. It's called Be Your Own Business Detective, and I highly encourage you to check it out. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel to get more content about running your creative business, selling your creative products, and marketing your creativity. Once you have your project management and the mistakes to avoid figured out, you of course want more and more and more customers coming in. In this video over here, I talk about thinking about the flow of customers, how there's different perspectives, and what you can learn and think about when you're trying to get more customers to your creative business. Check it out, and I will see you over there.